The music was blasting when I walked into the backyard. Balloons spelled out "Congrats, Trevor" in metallic gold. Tables were stacked with catered barbecue. A banner hung from the fence with his senior photo, edited to look like a magazine cover. My aunt waved to someone behind me. My mother? She didn't even look up from the drink table. I had graduated last week. Same cap and gown, just no photographer. No cake. No celebration. Not even a card. And as I stood there in a blouse I ironed myself, holding a wrapped gift I bought with my minimum wage job, I heard my dad raise his glass and say, "To the one who makes this family proud." The backyard was packed. Cousins, neighbors, Trevor's friends from baseball. The catering alone probably cost more than my entire graduation ceremony. There were custom cookies with his face on them. Actual cookies, with frosting portraits. Someone had hired a photographer who moved through the crowd, like this was a wedding. I set my gift on the table with the others. A book about success strategies I'd saved up for. Wrapped it myself with discount paper. It disappeared under designer gift bags and envelopes probably stuffed with checks. Nobody noticed me placing it there. Nobody noticed me at all. I didn't cry. Not then. I laughed at someone's joke, hugged my brother like it didn't gut me, and helped clear empty Solo cups off the lawn. But inside, something snapped. Not in a loud, dramatic way. In a quiet, surgical kind of way. The kind of break that doesn't bleed, it builds. Trevor pulled me into a hug that felt more like performance than affection. "Thanks for coming, sis." His cologne was expensive. His watch was new. Graduation gift from Dad. I'd seen the box on the kitchen counter last week. The same day I'd eaten cereal for dinner because I couldn't afford groceries and tuition. "Congrats," I managed. "You earned it." He grinned, oblivious. Mom and Dad really outdid themselves, right? I nodded, smiled, walked away before he could see my face crack. I spent the next hour being useful, refilling ice, throwing away plates, making myself small and helpful and invisible. The role I'd perfected over 23 years. Mom finally acknowledged me around 7 p.m. "Sheridan, can you take the extra potato salad home? It'll just go to waste here. Not thank you for coming. Not we're proud of you too. Just take the leftovers." I said yes, because that's what I always did. My name is Sheridan Knox. I'm 23. I just graduated with a degree in communications from a state school 90 minutes away. I worked 2 jobs to get through it. No one ever visited. No one asked how I was doing. Because in my family, Trevor was the golden child. And I was filler. I'd been working at a campus bookstore and waiting tables at a diner since freshman year. 60-hour weeks sometimes. My grades suffered, but I graduated. Barely anyone knew because I didn't have anyone to tell. My roommate came to the ceremony. Her parents took us both to dinner after. They asked me about my plans, my dreams, my goals. They saw me. My own parents didn't come. Trevor has a baseball tournament that weekend. Mom had said on the phone 3 weeks before graduation. "You understand, right? It's important for his scholarship." I'd said yes. I understood. I always understood. That I came second. That my achievements were expected while his were celebrated. That my degree was nice, while his high school graduation was worthy of a $3,000 party. The drive home from graduation had been quiet. Just me and my used Honda Civic. I treated myself to fast food. Sat in the parking lot eating alone. Watched families celebrate together. And I decided something. I was done waiting for them to see me. They didn't always ignore me. When I was younger, I won spelling bees. Got into the honors program. Brought home art awards. But Trevor hit puberty, joined varsity baseball, and suddenly my report cards weren't exciting. They were expected. He got claps. I got nods. And the longer it went on, the less I spoke. I remembered being 11, winning the regional spelling bee. Mom couldn't come because she was at Trevor's practice. Dad recorded it on his phone but never watched it back. I placed the trophy on the mantle myself. It stayed there for 3 days before Mom moved it to my bedroom. To make room, she'd said. Room for what? There was nothing else there. Trevor's trophies covered an entire wall in the living room. His baseball photos hung in the hallway. His report cards went on the fridge, even when they were mediocre. Mine went in a drawer. "We know you'll do well," Dad would say. Like that explained why they didn't celebrate it. Like being smart meant I didn't need encouragement. By high school, I'd stopped trying, stopped bringing home awards, stopped telling them about achievements. I got into the honor society, never mentioned it, won an essay contest, kept it to myself. Their attention was a limited resource, and I'd learned not to compete for it. The next day, Mom posted a Facebook photo, Trevor holding up his cake. Caption, "Our pride and joy." There was no mention of me, so I unfriended her. Quietly, no message, no drama. Then I signed the lease on a tiny studio apartment with my name, my money, and no help from them. I saw the post at 10 a.m. while eating cereal in my childhood bedroom. The photo had 87 likes already. Comments poured in. "Such a handsome young man. You must be so proud. He's going places." I scrolled through every comment. Not one person asked about me. Not one person remembered I existed. I clicked unfriend on Mom's profile, then Dad's, then Trevor's, deleted the family group chat, blocked their numbers temporarily, just to see if they'd notice. Then I opened my laptop and searched for apartments. I'd been saving for 2 years, squirreling away tips and paychecks. I had $4,000 saved. Enough for first, last, and deposit on something small. By noon, I had 3 viewings scheduled. By 3 p.m., I'd found a studio 45 minutes away. Small, bare, but mine. I signed the lease that evening. Moved out 3 days later while they were at Trevor's tournament. Left a note on the kitchen counter. Found my own place. "Thanks for everything. S." I applied for 46 jobs that week. Got ghosted by most. But one startup called back. It was scrappy, underfunded, and barely had a brand identity. But the CEO said, "We need someone who knows how to figure things out." I smiled. Great. That's my whole personality. The startup was called Momentum Digital. For people total working out of a converted warehouse space. The CEO, Preston, was 30 and running on caffeine and ambition. The office had mismatched furniture and a coffee maker that barely worked. My title was Communications Coordinator, but really I was whatever they needed me to be that day. My interview lasted 15 minutes. Preston asked one question. "Tell me about a time you had to do something you weren't trained for." I told him about working 2 jobs through college, about managing time, money, stress, about learning to solve problems because there was nobody else to do it. He hired me on the spot. "Salary's not great yet," he admitted. "But if you help us grow, you'll grow with us." I'd heard promises before, but this felt different. This felt like a chance, like someone finally seeing potential instead of expecting perfection. I started Monday, showed up an hour early, made coffee for everyone. Preston noticed. "You didn't have to do that." I shrugged. "I want to be here." While Trevor's internship at a financial firm came through family friends, I was delivering pitch decks at 1 a.m. He posted pool pics. I posted nothing. He got praise for networking. I got ignored for always being busy. Mom texted me once to ask if I'd bring soda to his 4th of July party. I didn't answer. The first 3 months were brutal. We were pitching a social media management service to small businesses. Most said no. Some laughed. I rewrote our pitch 17 times. Practiced in my bathroom mirror. Cold called businesses during lunch breaks. Lost sleep. Lost weight. Kept going. Trevor, meanwhile, posted Instagram stories from his internship. Coffee runs. Office views. Lunch meetings that Dad had arranged through his golf buddies. Everyone commented how hardworking he was. How impressive. I worked 80-hour weeks and nobody knew. Nobody asked. Mom's text came through on July 2nd. "Can you pick up sodas for Trevor's party?" About 6 cases. "Thanks. No, please. No, how are you? Just an errand." I stared at the message for 10 minutes. Then I deleted it. Blocked her number again. Went back to work on a presentation that might actually change my life. They could buy their own sodas. 9 months in, we landed a client that doubled our revenue. I didn't ask for a bonus. I brought results to my boss with a list of what I wanted. Salary bump, new title, room to grow. He said yes. No hesitation. "Honestly, you run half this place already." The client was a regional restaurant chain, 20 locations. They'd been impressed by our pitch, specifically by the market analysis I'd put together. We signed a $50,000 contract. Preston called an emergency meeting to celebrate, brought in champagne and pizza, made a toast to Sheridan, who refuses to take no for an answer. The next day, I scheduled a meeting with him. Brought a folder. Inside, every project I'd led, every client I'd brought in, every problem I'd solved. At the bottom, a single page, my proposed new salary and title. Senior Communications Manager. $65,000 a year. A $20,000 increase. Preston read it. Looked up. You've earned this and more. We shook hands. He announced it to the team that afternoon. Everyone clapped. Not obligatory, polite clapping. Real applause from people who'd actually seen my work, who knew what I'd contributed. It felt better than 1,000 family parties. They invited me home for Christmas, mostly to help with cooking. Trevor got a new laptop. Mom said, it'll help with his job hunt. I got socks. My dad joked practical. You're always walking somewhere. I left early. They didn't notice. I debated not going. But guilt is a powerful thing. I showed up Christmas morning with gifts I'd actually thought about. A cookbook for Mom. Whiskey for Dad. Headphones for Trevor. They opened them with distracted thanks. Then it was my turn. Socks. Literally one pair of socks in a gift bag. Trevor opened his laptop. A MacBook Pro, top of the line, and everyone gathered around. This is incredible, he said. Dad beamed. You'll need it for applications. Job hunting is competitive. Trevor had been job hunting for 3 months. Mostly he'd been playing video games. But nobody mentioned that. Mom asked me to help with dinner. I spent 3 hours in the kitchen while they watched football. At the table, Dad asked Trevor about his prospects, his networking, his plans. Nobody asked about my job, my promotion, my life. I finished eating, helped clean up, said I had to go. Already? Mom asked, barely looking up from her phone. Stay a little longer. But I was already grabbing my coat. I drove home in silence. They texted 2 days later asking if I'd taken the leftover ham. Back in my apartment, I sat with a cup of tea and made 2 lists. List 1, what I had accomplished without them. List 2, everything they said I'd never do. Then I circled one thing in bold. They don't see me now. But they will. List 1 filled a page. College degree. Job. Promotion. Apartment. Financial independence. Real friendships. Self-respect. Skills I'd built from nothing. Resilience they'd never acknowledged. Success they'd never celebrated. It was longer than I'd expected. Proof that I'd been building something real while they weren't looking. List 2 was shorter but sharper. You won't make it in communications. It's too competitive. You should have studied something practical. Trevor's the ambitious one. You're lucky you're smart because you're not very driven. Don't expect handouts. Success takes connections which you don't have. Each one a tiny cut. Each one wrong. I circled one sentence at the bottom of my paper. They don't see me now. But they will. I didn't write it as revenge. Just as truth. As promise. As prophecy. I was building something. Slowly. Carefully. And when it was undeniable, when it was too big to ignore, they'd have to see me. Not because I needed them to. Because it would be impossible not to. 6 months later, I moved into a high-rise loft. Paid cash for the deposit. Bought furniture that didn't come in flat boxes. Still no calls from home. Still fine. Because I was building something. And nothing distracts like being underestimated. Momentum Digital had grown. We now had 12 employees and 5 major clients. My salary had jumped again to $85,000. I'd been promoted to Director of Client Strategy. Preston had offered me equity in the company. I'd accepted. The loft was in the downtown arts district. Floor-to-ceiling windows. Exposed brick. Modern kitchen. I'd walked through it once and knew it was mine. Signed the lease the same day. Moved in over a weekend with help from my coworkers, who'd become real friends. People who showed up when I needed them. Who celebrated my wins. Who saw my value. We christened the place with takeout and cheap wine. It felt more like home than my childhood house ever had. I posted one photo on Instagram, my first in months. Just the view from my window at sunset. No caption. No tags. 3 people from home saw it. Nobody commented. Nobody asked. I smiled. Good. Let them not notice. Let them stay focused on Trevor's job hunt and their own small world. I was building something bigger. My boss brought me to a dinner with potential partners. He introduced me as the one who turned our chaos into strategy. A woman at the table asked, "How long have you been doing this?" I said, "Not long." "Just well." They all laughed and offered us funding. The dinner was at an upscale restaurant I'd never have afforded on my own. White tablecloths, wine lists thicker than a phone book. Preston brought me because he trusted me to pitch, to answer questions, to represent our company to people with money and power. I wore a blazer I'd splurged on. Felt like armor. The potential investors were 2 women and a man, all in their 40s, all successful. They asked about our growth model, our client retention, our vision. I answered everything. Calm, prepared, confident. When the woman asked about my experience, I didn't apologize for being young or new. I owned it. Not long, I'd said. Just well. The table went quiet. Then they laughed. Real laughs. Impressed. "I like that," the man said. By dessert, they'd offered us $200,000 in funding. Preston squeezed my shoulder. "You just changed everything." That night, lying in my loft, I thought about Trevor's interview he bombed last month, about how Dad had made excuses for him. And I smiled into the dark. It started as a dare. I walked into the dealership just to look. But then I sat in the driver's seat of a sleek, obsidian black Porsche 718 Cayman. And something in my chest shifted. The salesman asked if I wanted to drive it. I smiled. Actually, I think I'm ready to own it. I'd been driving past the Porsche dealership for weeks. Always slowed down. Always told myself it was ridiculous. I was 24. I'd been poor my whole life, but the funding had come through. We'd landed 3 more major clients. I'd gotten another raise and a bonus. My bank account had numbers I'd never imagined. Saturday afternoon, I walked in wearing jeans and a t-shirt. The salesman looked skeptical. "Can I help you?" I smiled, just looking. But then I saw it. Black paint so deep it looked like liquid night. Red leather interior. The 718 Cayman. I walked over like I was being pulled by gravity. "Can I sit in it?" He hesitated. "It's a significant vehicle." I met his eyes. "I know." He opened the door. I slid into the driver's seat. And everything changed. The steering wheel fit my hands perfectly. The seat held me like it was made for me. I looked at the price tag. $85,000. I'd just gotten a $30,000 bonus. "Can I test drive it?" He nodded. 5 minutes later, I was flying down the highway. 10 minutes after that, I was signing papers. A group text popped up. Trevor's engagement party. Backyard. Saturday. Let's celebrate our boy. I wasn't directly tagged, just looped in. I didn't reply, but I made a calendar event, not out of guilt, out of intention. The text came from Mom's number on a Tuesday afternoon. I'd unblocked them months ago, curious if they'd reach out. They hadn't, until now, until they needed something, or rather, until Trevor needed celebrating. The message had 17 recipients, extended family, friends, me at the bottom of the list. I read it 3 times. Our boy. Not our son. Not Trevor. Our boy. Like he was the only child they'd ever had. Like I was just a name in their contacts list they occasionally remembered. I felt that old familiar sting. Then I felt something else. Something colder. Something powerful. I didn't respond to the group text. But I opened my calendar. Scrolled to Saturday. Created an event. Trevor's engagement party. Set an alarm. Not because I was obligated. Not because I wanted to make peace. But because I'd been waiting 2 years for this moment. For the chance to show them exactly who I'd become. To let them see what they'd missed while they weren't paying attention. I smiled at my phone. This was going to be perfect. I booked a personal styling appointment. Picked a dress the color of power, deep burgundy. Fit like armor. The stylist said, "You look expensive." I said, "I look like the version they didn't believe I could become." She smiled. "Then make them remember it." The boutique was downtown, the kind of place I'd never have entered 2 years ago. But I walked in like I belonged there. Because I did. I told the stylist exactly what I needed, something that says I've made it. Something that can't be ignored. She understood immediately. She pulled pieces like she was crafting a weapon. The dress was burgundy silk, structured at the shoulders, fitted through the waist. It wasn't revealing. It was commanding. I tried it on and stared at my reflection. I looked like money, like success, like everything they'd said I wasn't ambitious enough to become. The stylist stood behind me. You look expensive. I smiled. I looked like the version they didn't believe I could become. She met my eyes in the mirror. Then make them remember it. Make them regret underestimating you. I bought the dress, and shoes, and a clutch. Spent $800 without flinching. Because this wasn't about a party. This was about making a statement they'd never forget. I didn't walk in. I rolled in. The Porsche slid into the driveway like a whisper with teeth. People turned. Phones came out. I stepped out of the driver's seat. Slow, calm, like I belonged in every frame. And I watched my father's face freeze mid-laugh. I timed my arrival perfectly. Not early. Not late. Right when the party was in full swing. Right when everyone would see. I pulled up to the curb outside their house. The same house I'd grown up in. The same driveway where I'd learned to ride a bike while they were at Trevor's baseball games. But I arrived different. Transformed. Undeniable. The engine purred as I parked. People in the yard turned. Someone pointed. I saw phones lift. Cameras turning on. I checked my lipstick in the rearview mirror. Took a breath. Then I opened the door and stepped out. Slowly. The dress caught the late afternoon sun. My heels clicked on the pavement. I closed the car door with a soft thunk. The backyard went quiet. Actually quiet. Mid-conversation. Mid-laugh. Frozen. I walked toward them like I was on a runway. Made eye contact with no one and everyone. And then I saw him. Dad. Glass halfway to his mouth. Face confused. Then shocked. Then something else. Something that looked almost like fear. Mom walked toward me, confused. Sheridan. I hugged her lightly. Just stop by. Trevor looked stunned. I didn't know you were coming. I tilted my head. You didn't invite me. Then I smiled. But don't worry. I don't need cake to make an entrance. Mom's hug was stiff, performative. She pulled back and looked at the car, then at me, then at the car again. Is that yours? I smiled. Just picked it up last week. Her mouth opened, closed, opened again. How did you work? I said simply. I work hard. Trevor appeared beside her, his fiancée on his arm. She was pretty in a forgettable way. He looked exactly like he had 2 years ago. Same haircut, same polo shirt style, same everything, but smaller somehow. Less bright. Sheridan, I didn't know you were coming. His voice was cautious, confused. You didn't invite me, I said, tilting my head, letting the words land. The group text just said, our boy. I figured that meant I was optional. Silence. Someone coughed. I smiled wider. But don't worry. I don't need cake to make an entrance. I gestured to the Porsche. I brought my own celebration. Then I walked past them toward the drink table. Every eye in the yard followed me. Aunt Marlene whispered, Is that her car? Someone else asked, What does she do now? Mom said nothing. Dad forced a smile. Trevor looked small. For once, they had no narrative to feed the room. I was the headline. I poured myself sparkling water. Took my time. Let them stare. Let them wonder. Let them scramble to understand how the daughter they dismissed had shown up in a car worth more than their annual property taxes. Conversations restarted slowly. Quiet. Uncertain. All about me. Aunt Marlene sidled up to me. Sheridan, honey, is that really your car? I nodded. Just got it. Thought I'd celebrate my promotion. Her eyes went wide. Promotion. Director of Client Strategy, I said casually. At a tech startup. We just secured major funding. It's been a good year. She blinked. That's wonderful. Why didn't anyone mention? She stopped. Looked at Mom. At Dad. Understanding dawned. Nobody had mentioned it because nobody knew. Because they'd never asked. Never cared to know. Well, she said quietly, I'm proud of you. It was the first time anyone in my family had said those words. And she wasn't even my parent. Later, I overheard Mom say she's just showing off. A cousin replied, honestly, I'm impressed. Then I realized they didn't just fail to celebrate me. They taught others not to. But now, everyone was watching, and they were the ones shrinking. I was standing near the fence, pretending to admire Mom's roses, when I heard her voice carry from the patio. She's always been dramatic. This is just showing off. My aunt's voice, or maybe she's successful and wanted to share it. Silence. Then Mom, defensive. She never told us she was doing well. I turned around, walked toward them. Mom's face went pale. I tried to tell you, I said calmly, every time I called. But you were always busy with Trevor's stuff. Remember? So I stopped calling. Started building instead. The patio went silent. I sent graduation announcements. You didn't come. I got promoted 3 times. You never asked. I bought a loft downtown. You've never visited. This car. I gestured toward the street. This is what happens when someone stops waiting for your approval and starts believing in themselves. Mom's eyes filled with tears, but I felt nothing. No satisfaction. No anger. Just cool, clean clarity. I'm not showing off, Mom. I'm just finally showing up as myself. The version you never believed I could become. I set down my glass. Congratulations to Trevor. I'm happy for him. Really. Then I walked toward the gate. I didn't stay for speeches. I waved once, got back in the car, and pulled away. No announcement. No need to prove anything. I let the engine say everything I didn't. Trevor called after me. Sheridan, wait. But I was already at the car. Already opening the door. Already sliding into the driver's seat. I started the engine. The sound cut through the evening air like music. Like victory. Like everything I needed to say but couldn't find words for. I pulled away slowly. Not speeding. Not rushing. Just smooth, confident movement. In my rear-view mirror, I saw them all standing there. Watching. Dad with his hand on Mom's shoulder. Trevor with his mouth open. Aunt Marlene smiling. Cousins with their phones still recording. They looked small. Distant. Like people I used to know in another life. The drive home was quiet. Just me and the engine and the setting sun. I didn't feel triumphant. I didn't feel vindicated. I felt free. Free from needing them to see me. Free from waiting for validation that was never coming. I'd shown up, made my statement, and left. That was enough. That was everything. 3 days later, my mom called. She left a voicemail. We're proud of you. We just didn't know you never told us. I didn't respond, because I'd spent years screaming without raising my voice, and they never listened. I saw Mom's name on my phone Tuesday morning. Let it ring. She left a voicemail. I waited until lunch to listen. Her voice was shaky. Sheridan, it's Mom. We had no idea you were doing so well. The car is beautiful. Your success it's wonderful. We're so proud. We just wish you'd told us. Call us back. We should celebrate you too. I played it twice, listening for something real. An apology. Acknowledgement of what they'd done. Understanding of the years I'd spent invisible. But there was nothing. Just surprise that I'd succeeded without them. Just discomfort that they'd been wrong. Just a rewriting of history you never told us. As if I hadn't tried. As if I hadn't called and texted and reached out until I stopped. I deleted the voicemail. Didn't call back. Because words are easy. Anyone can say we're proud after the fact. After the proof is undeniable. After the car and the dress and the obvious success. They weren't proud. They were embarrassed. Embarrassed they'd missed it. Embarrassed other people had noticed. But not actually sorry. Never sorry. I became partner. Not by asking. By becoming indispensable. They gave me a glass office. I left it mostly empty, except for one photo on the shelf, me in my cap and gown. Alone. The partnership announcement came in October. Preston called a company meeting. Momentum Digital has grown beyond what I imagined. And that's because of the people in this room. Specifically, one person who's been here since we were 4 people in a warehouse. He looked at me. Sheridan, you built this with me. It's time you own part of it officially. Welcome to partnership. 20% equity. VP title. Salary I couldn't have dreamed of 2 years ago. My own office with glass walls and a door that closed. I moved in that afternoon. Desk, chair, laptop, and one single photo frame. My college graduation picture. The one my roommate's parents had taken. Me in my cap and gown, diploma in hand, smiling despite the fact that my own family wasn't there. I placed it on the shelf where visitors could see it. Not as decoration, as reminder of where I started, of what I built, of who I became when nobody was watching. Coworkers asked why I didn't have family photos. I just smiled. That's the only family photo I need. Trevor lost his job. Turns out, charm doesn't cover for poor performance. Mom asked if I could talk to someone for him. I said, "You made it clear I wasn't part of this family's success." Silence. Then a choked, "Sheridan, please." But I'd already hung up. The call came during a client meeting. I ignored it. Mom called 3 more times. Finally sent a text, "Emergency. Call me." I called back during lunch. "What's wrong?" "It's Trevor. He lost his job. He's devastated. We thought maybe you could help. You have connections now, right? Maybe someone at your company." I laughed. Actually laughed. "You want me to help Trevor get a job? He's your brother. Family helps family. Family celebrates family too," I said. "Family shows up. Family asks how you're doing. You didn't do any of that. Sheridan, we made mistakes. You made choices," I corrected. "You chose to celebrate one child and ignore the other. For 24 years. And now you want me to fix his problems? With the connections you said I'd never have." Silence. Then crying. "Please. He needs help." "I needed help too," I said quietly. I needed support. Encouragement. Just to be seen. You couldn't be bothered. So no, Mom. I can't help Trevor. I won't. You made it clear I wasn't part of this family's success. So he's not part of mine. I hung up. Blocked the number. Went back to work. A handwritten letter came months later. From Dad. No apology. Just a sentence, "We didn't see you. I hope it's not too late." It was. I burned it. Not out of hate, out of freedom. The letter arrived in January. Expensive stationery. Dad's careful handwriting. I opened it standing by my floor-to-ceiling windows, city lights spread below me like stars. "Dear Sheridan," it began. "Your mother and I have been thinking about everything. About the party, the car, the years before. We realize now that we didn't see you the way we should have. We didn't celebrate you the way you deserved. We were focused on Trevor's struggles and forgot to notice your strengths. I hope it's not too late to fix this. I hope you can forgive us. Love, Dad." I read it once, then again, looking for the apology that wasn't quite there. "We didn't see you wasn't we're sorry. I hope it's not too late wasn't we were wrong." It was carefully worded, admitting failure without accepting blame, asking for forgiveness without earning it. I walked to my fireplace, turned on the gas, held the letter over the flame, watched the edges curl and blacken, watched it burn down to ash, not because I hated them, but because I was finally completely free. Free from needing their approval. Free from waiting for them to see me. They'd missed their chance. And that was their loss, not mine. Stopped at a red light. Windows down. Porsche humming. I saw a family walking. Little girl holding her mom's hand. The mom said, "You did a great job today." The girl lit up like the sun. I smiled to myself. Not because I needed them anymore, but because I had become everything they said I wasn't. The light turned red on my drive home from work. Evening traffic. City sounds. I rolled down my windows, letting in spring air. On the sidewalk, a family walked by. Father, mother, little girl between them, maybe 7 years old. The girl was talking excitedly, waving a paper. "I got an A." The mother squeezed her hand. "You did such a great job today. We're so proud of you." The girl beamed, whole face glowing with joy, pure happiness from those simple words. And I felt something shift in my chest. Not sadness, not envy, just understanding. That little girl would grow up knowing she was seen, knowing her achievements mattered, knowing she was worth